Yo, this is Come Inside of Me. I'm Tony. I'm back from a little hiatus of being incapacitated in a back spasm, going on 2 weeks. It's been such a intense journey, and it is hard to talk about personal pain amidst war, genocide, global destruction, endless greed, all the things. When you think about one's own personal pain in a privileged Western context, there is always like this, like, do I even deserve to be in pain? Feeling guilt, shame, uh, just what is that feeling when it is an undeserving. I don't know. There's probably some German word. There must be a German word for the feeling of your own devastating despair that is coupled with the awareness that in comparison your despair is, I don't know, not that big of a deal, but then is a big deal in the ecosystem of your own existence. So I know today is Monday. It's Ask Me Anything Monday, but we're going to get into an advice day that is purely my advice to you after going through the depths of my own hellacious suffering that I have been in. Because I think I've said this before. I know I've said this before. I say this all the time, but I don't believe any injury to be random. I don't think that you hurt yourself and it's like, oh, well, that means nothing because you are hurting yourself. Like, I legit hurt myself. So I didn't do that for nothing. It wasn't like for shits and gigs. Like, wouldn't it be fun if I just hurt myself? No, I'm hurting myself because there's something very profound and meaningful that I must uncover through the journey of this injury. Spiritually, I must uncover it. Emotionally, I must uncover it. Physically, I must uncover it. So that is what I've been up to. I'm going to say I don't have the best personality right now because most of my personality has been reserved for feeling the sensation of pain. And when you're just like feeling pain all day, it does suck your sense of self because your personality is a composite of your feelings. And if you're feeling nothing but pain, your personality is going to be whack. It's going to be wackadoo. But I'm going to do my best to like have a personality. I'm not in acute pain at this moment. I'm more in a dull, aching, persistent pain, which still takes up energy. You know that feeling where you just kind of wish you would not die, but perish. I feel like, or just maybe never existed. Like, I don't want to die. I just contemplate, like, was existing worth it? You know, kind of that feeling, or the feeling of like, yeah, perishing. Something about a perish doesn't feel like you're dying. It just feels like you just dissipate. You just disappear. And maybe that is what death is, but like every night when I go to sleep, I'm like, maybe I should just sleep until eternity. Maybe I should just like Sleeping Beauty the rest of my life. Like, I've done it. So that's kind of the vibe I'm bringing to this podcast. But I also think I'm going to inspire you. Like, within the depths of my despair, there will be some inspiration. So let's get into it. All right, I'm going to begin with talking about that before this back spasm happened, y'all, my back was like not in a good place. It wasn't like I was like thriving. I was already in a state of suffering about my back, but it was more manageable. And I do think, people suffer in different ways. There was still a lot I could do with my back that maybe the average person who doesn't explore their back flexibility was not doing. But for me, my back was really limited. For me, I was feeling a deep limitation. And that deep limitation was upsetting me to my core because I couldn't express myself fully. And I understand not everybody is going around expressing themselves with their bodies. Therefore, when their bodies are limited, it may not impact them psychologically in the same way that it does me. I also do think that movement is my antidepressant. So when movement is taken out of my life, there is just like, oh, just a well of depression I could just dive into instead because I'm not moving through it. So it's almost like the depression well of my psyche is always there, but usually I'm like splashing around, I'm twerking, I'm diving in and out. But when I can't move and I'm just laying in the bathwater of my own depressive despair, it's a little dark, it's a little murky. So before this back spasm happened, I will also say that one thing that I had been doing a lot is communicating telepathically with the dead. Let's get into it. I don't know if you all have listened to the telepathy tapes. It's something I've recommended a lot in my videos, and I think even in this podcast. My whole podcast is actually just a giant advertisement for the telepathy tapes. LOL, not really, but I do think y'all should listen to it. I think it's quite an interesting concept. But I have been experiencing telepathy for a long time, and it did begin with my best friend who died, and it began the first time it ever really happened, like genuinely happened, was when I was 28 years old. So I was in Costa Rica, and Costa Rica was a really special place for my best friend. She wanted her ashes buried there. I think she fell in love with this guy that was down there, who I actually took his virginity, not to brag. So this guy whose virginity belongs to me, I think my best friend loved, 10 years later or whatever. So they had, I think, a love affair in Costa Rica in their 20s. Or no, maybe it was her late teens because she died when she was 20. So I think she had a love affair with this guy. So when I went down to visit him in Costa Rica at 28, we were both really feeling her presence. Like, we were feeling her very deeply, and we were falling in love. Like, I fucked this guy before. Like, keep in mind, I had fucked this guy. I thought he was hot because he is hot, but I wasn't ever in love with him. I didn't like connect to him on an intellectual level. I just thought like, oh, he's hot, he surfs, like, he was cool. He was a friend, and we could smoke pot together and have a great time. But I didn't feel like intellectually we vibed that much, even though we could be friends and hang hard. But when I was down there in Costa Rica this time, I was really feeling the presence of my best friend, Biddy, and her name was Biddy. And I was also just like falling in love with this guy. And it didn't really make sense because, again, like I'm telling you, I didn't know him. So I kept kind of feeling that her presence was deeply connected to why I was falling in love with this guy in Costa Rica. Also, it is easy to fall in love in Costa Rica. Like, real talk. But I'm falling in love. P.S. He has a girlfriend, I have a boyfriend. But we both needed to break up with our respective girlfriends and boyfriends. Like, when you have to break up with someone and you know, like, your higher self knows this is not correct, you must get out of this situation, but your current embodied self is like, I don't want to deal with a breakup, because a breakup means you have to hold the other person's emotions. Not if you're not a codependent, of course, but as a codependent, someone who struggles with codependency. I'm not going to define myself as a codependent. As someone who struggles with codependency, I was like, oh, I cannot handle breaking up with another fucking guy, because I had just broken up with another dude, and like, they don't take it well. I've never had a guy I've broken up with been like, cool, I wish you the best. That's not what they do. They don't act like that. And then I feel like all their feelings. Feeling all their feelings is going to come back, okay? So, long story long, I'm watching the sunset, and for some reason, my friend Biddy comes into my head, and she's like, leave. And I'm alone, and I'm just like watching the sunset. I hear it's her, and I know it's her, and she's in my head. So I'm also doubting it, but she's like, it's time to leave. And in my head, I'm like, why would I leave? I'm watching a beautiful sunset and the sun hasn't fully set yet. And I'm a completist. I don't hike halfway up a mountain. I don't have sex and not orgasm. Like, I am going to complete whatever it is I started as a true Capricorn. So I'm like, why would I leave? And she's like, leave. And I'm like, okay. And so I get up to leave, and I start walking back, and I see on the other side of the peninsula the full moon rising. And I had never seen a moon rise like this. Like because we're on Costa Rica, it was so on the horizon that this giant, it looked unreal. Like it looked like a moon from Dune, you know? It was massive and it was truly rising from the horizon. It was the most spectacular moonrise I'd ever seen in my life. And I was like, oh, this is why she told me to leave so I could see this moonrise. And retrospectively, I think she was trying to build my trust in the sense that I had to trust that this voice in my head was her and not just me talking to me. I think this is the hard thing about telepathy, is that if you're going to doubt it, you're going to think you're just hearing your own voice in your head, but it definitely feels different. I am telling you, it feels different. It feels the same as a conversation. So when I saw this moonrise, I was kind of blown away and I was like, oh wow, like thank you so much for having me see this. And so when I'm going to back up. When my best friend died, I had this experience when I was sitting at her gravestone. And it was kind of after everyone had left. You know, you have the ceremony at the graveyard and then everyone bounces to go to I think it's called the wake. I'm not sure. I think it's a wake, which is a strange, interesting word. But everyone left and I could not leave. I like actually physically could not leave her gravestone. And I was just like sitting there weeping. I couldn't leave, you know. I was 20 years old. We were young. And again, like I have to say this over and over again. It has been decades since my best friend has died. I am not over it. I am not healed fully. I will never fully be healed. I think anyone who has experienced massive tragic loss understands what it is to carry grief throughout their life. And this is why genocide is bad. Just PS. Because you do not get over the death of tragedy very easily. Like the death of something that makes sense, you know, like, oh, a parent dies, a grandparent dies, like someone dies in old age. Yes, it's sad. Yes, you feel lost, but it's not tragic. There's nothing tragic about your grandparents dying. It's supposed to happen. But when you have someone die in a tragic way, either too young or because of genocide or because of, you know, environmental raping or because of, you know, all this stuff that these billionaire fuckholes are doing to us, that is tragedy. That tragic death is going to have a ripple in people's lives beyond just like the average death. Okay, so this is, I think, part of why I am always going to be such an advocate, you know, for global issues, because I understand tragedy in a deep way and how hard it is to overcome tragic loss. So I had told my friend Biddy at her gravestone as a 20-year-old girl, you can live through me. I was like, I'm going to make my life meaningful in order to make your death make sense. I think that is the other thing that one grapples with tragedy, is that the death doesn't make sense. And so you want to make sense of it because you can't comprehend it. Your rational mind can't comprehend it. And then your heart is so broken. So I was promising her, my life, I'm going to make my life meaningful. I'm going to use your death to inspire me in order to make your death make sense. And you're going to live with me and through me. You can keep living in whatever way you want within my body. I truly invited her into my body. And I also had this like very deep, like feeling. I was like, I'm going to one day have a daughter and she's going to have blonde hair and blue eyes, just like my friend Biddy. And I'm going to reconnect with her in this way. As she won't be my friend, but she'll be my friend in a different way. She'll be my daughter, and then I'll fully be able to protect her in ways I couldn't as a friend, because Biddy was experiencing things in her life that I could not protect her from because I was also a child. So there was also that going on, which again I learned retrospectively. So I had invited Biddy into my body, into my spirit, into my mind at that gravestone. It's almost like I don't want to say I cast a spell, but I invoked an invitation, a spiritual, cosmic, metaphysical invitation for her to participate with me in my life. And I never let that go. You know, I was always having moments, you know, those moments where you're like, oh, like you think you you're connected to your loved one through animals or through different coincidences that happened. That was always happening. I think a lot of people experience that, where you're like, oh, my loved one is now coming to me in the form of a hummingbird or coyote. My friend, her boyfriend comes to her as a coyote. Like, I think we do experience that. But the telepathy, I had not experienced as of yet. But I experienced many signs where I felt Biddy communicating to me that she was here with me, watching me, participating in my life. So when I had this moon experience, I felt that she was like communicating, I am here. Look at this dope ass moon, bitch. And then she was like, I'm ready to come back. It's time for you to have a baby. And I was like, what? Like, I still do coke, you know? I don't know if I'm supposed to be having no baby. I was in my late 20s, you know, like 20, I think it was 27 or 28. I can't remember. It was one of those 27 or 28. I was living in New York City. People were not having babies. My friends were not having babies. This was not on the radar. I didn't even like my boyfriend. My boyfriend was a doinkus. Like, I kind of hated him. So I was like, wait, what? And she's like, you're supposed to have a boyfriend with this guy, the Costa Rica guy, the Costa Rica surfer, you know? And again, I knew him through my friend Biddy. She wanted me to fuck him because she was dating his best friend. And she was like, oh, you should fuck this guy because he's best friends with my boyfriend. And that was all the logic I needed when I took this guy's virginity. Also, P.S., I have to tell you, when I took this guy's virginity, we were in his room and he had like 17 animals. He had like a snake, a lizard, and an iguana, a parrot. His room smelled so much like animal cages. He had so many animals. I wish I remembered them all, but there was truly 17. A parrot. Did I say a parrot? More rodents, you know, and then a cat. Like, there was a lot of animals. It was giving Jungle Book. It was strange sexual experience. Smelled really bad in his room, like animal cages. So she's like, you're supposed to have a baby with this guy, Costa Rica surfer. And I was like, what? I was like, my dude, he lives in Costa Rica. I live in New York. And she's like, that's fine. I just think you're supposed to have a baby with him because I'm ready to come back now. And this is it. And I was like, okay. So I went and I got my bike and I grabbed a couple beers and I like biked over to where this guy was skateboarding. Hot. He was skateboarding in a pool, like an empty pool. It was a hot scene. So then I'm like drinking the beers and like watching him skateboard. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're just supposed to have a baby now. And then he's done skateboarding and we're biking back to his house. And Costa Rica is beautiful. You know what I mean? It's hot. It's sexy. I'm a little drunk. And I'm like, hey, so Biddy came to me while I was looking at the full moon. And she told me we were supposed to have a baby. I'm not like asking you to move away from Costa Rica or anything, and I'm not moving to Costa Rica. So I don't really know if this is gonna work, but I think we're just like supposed to have a baby because Biddy wants me to. And he was like, okay. He was down. Like, that's the thing that was also kind of funny, is he just was fucking down to clown. And neither of us, like, P.S., this guy was just surfing. Like, what was he doing? He must have been maybe some construction or something. Somehow he was making some money, but we didn't have things. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even have my own place. I was living in my boyfriend's apartment in the East Village of New York. Like, none of it made sense. But I was like, we're supposed to make a baby because Biddy told me in my brain, and he just believed me. And then we went back to his apartment or his house, or what was like a little house where he was staying. And I am not joking when I say this. We had a cosmic threesome with my friend, my dead best friend. Like, we both really felt her presence while we were having sex. And then at one point, he felt her so much that he just had to like lay on his stomach and just feel her. And I felt her too. And then I just was like, but not sexually, because we were not lesbians, so we did not have that sexual threesome, but he was having it and I was witness to it. And I was like, holding him while he was with her, and then he and I had sex. When I say we both felt her, I am telling you, we both felt her. It was bizarre, like nothing I'd ever experienced. And so then we were just kind of confused, because it's like, okay, who has a threesome with a ghost? But we did. And then I think we fucked like 3 or 4 more times without a condom. And then I had to go back to New York because that was my plane ticket. I just left. Weird move. Like, I could have stayed and kept fucking this guy, but I didn't. I left. And then I went back and I broke up with my boyfriend immediately because I had this like hope of this baby. And the hope of the baby changed my life. I broke up with my boyfriend. I told my other ex-boyfriend, who still wanted to get back together with me, that we were never getting back together, Taylor Swift style. I had to be like, we're never ever getting back together. All that shit. I had to just clean up all my relationships. I was like, we're fucking broken up. We're never getting back together. I have to preserve this potential baby. And I can't have no other man's presence near me while I'm potentially gestating my dead best friend. So I wasn't pregnant. That didn't end up happening. He wasn't the guy for me, I guess. But that like idea of this baby changed my life, okay? I'll tell you about the story of my actual baby another time, but that was the first time I started communicating to my friend telepathically. Then it didn't happen again for a long time until I hurt my ankle this year. So this was a long time of like not telepathically communicating, okay? Connected, but not telepathically communicating. And so I hurt my ankle really badly in the beginning of this year, and I knew it had to do with my friend Biddy. I knew it. I don't know why I knew it. I just knew that I was holding a part of her spirit hostage. I don't want to say hostage, but I was holding a part of her so tightly that I felt like I was an impediment to her spiritual evolution because I was holding on to her so tight. And I knew she lived in my barn. I knew that because like other people who could see spirits had seen her in my barn. I don't see spirits. That's not my gift. So all I know is other people had seen her. And I knew that she was in my barn, and I had this intuitive feeling. I was like, something has to shift in the relationship. Something has to shift with the way I'm holding on to her so tightly. And so I had this experience where I'm in my barn and I'm doing this herb called moxa, which is a Chinese herb to like heal my ankle, where you kind of like have a cigar basically, and you hold the cigar around your injury and it helps pull out the poison. But I do think just being in that state of spiritual communion with the moxa, trying to help my ankle, which was like so swollen. And I'm having this conversation with Biddy, and then we're having a telepathic, oh my God, my watch, again, the affirmation on my watch. You all know I'm always having these watch affirmations, but I'm having this telepathic conversation with Biddy. And I'm saying to her that it's time for me to let her go. And it's like when you have telepathic conversation with the dead, it's the language is simple, these very simple kind of like sentences. And she was communicating to me that she was scared. Like there was a fear that she had, and there was a fear I had about letting her go. And we were talking, and then of course I was just telling her just like how much guilt I had, how much regret I had, all of these things that I was feeling about, how I wish I was there, how I wish I prevented her death, all of these things. And she's trying to tell me like, no, you did everything you could. Like we were having this really deep conversation, not just about the present moment, but also about the past. And at one point I felt like, it was time to go. So I was like, okay. And I'm crying and I'm like, I'll say goodbye now. And I go to put out the moxa, and then all these sparks start flying. Like I couldn't, if you were to stub out a cigarette and you couldn't stub out a cigarette because it started exploding. Like that's what was happening. Like I know how to stub out a cigarette. I've been smoking joints for a long time. I smoked for a very long time. I know how to stub out a fiery stick. It just like the sparks were flying everywhere. They were flying on me. And I was like, oh, I guess Biddy still wants to say some things. And then we just like got even deeper about the relationship and about everything that happened. And then she told me, she was like, I need you to forgive my mom. And I realized, I was like, yeah, I do harbor a lot of resentment towards her mom. And her mom also did die a couple years after Biddy died, maybe a decade after. She got breast cancer and she just did not treat it. And obviously breast has to do with your relationship to your children. Breast cancer, I mean, there's a lot when it comes to mothering and breast cancer. So she got breast cancer and just basically let herself die. So that also felt, I mean, like, of course my rational self has a deep empathy for her mother and what she went through, but I was angry at her mother for not protecting her. I was angry at her mother for being an alcoholic and not being there for Biddy in the way I thought she should. There was anger, like Biddy was not incorrect. So she's like, I need you to forgive my mom. And I'm like, okay. And then finally I'm like, all right, it's time to say goodbye. And I'm like weeping. And I'm not a crier. You guys know this about me. I'm not a crier. I am like weeping. And I'm scared. I am genuinely scared. But I'm like, no, it makes sense. Like, this is for your evolution. Like, I don't want to hold you back. I need to evolve. You need to evolve. I can't just be the one evolving here on earth emotionally. Like, I also have to let you spiritually evolve. And I felt that like, it was the way I was holding on to her. It's not that you shouldn't hold on to the dead. It was a grasping energy that I had towards her, that I was like, I'm not letting you go, you know? I think it was affecting my life in all sorts of ways. This like desperation, this lack of trust, maybe I'll call it. So I finally just was like, all right, I love you. And I go and I stub out the moxa and I say goodbye. And then truly instantaneously, I felt Biddy just come into my heart. She just like moved into my heart. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, holy fuck, girl. I'm like, you're in my heart. And she's like, I know. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like, I was suddenly elated. Like, truly one of the happiest I'd ever felt. It was like, I'm like, wait, how'd you get in my heart? And then she goes, this is where me is we. Like, in the heart, this is where the I is the we. This is where the me is the we. This is where the collective love is, the collective experiences, the collective consciousness. It's in the heart. It's not in your fucking brain. It's in your fucking heart, my dude. And I was just like, like I felt so just at peace, like the deepest peace, you know? And I'm like, of course it's this a cliche, like they're always with you in your heart. But to feel that embodied practice of like her moving into my heart, profound. So fast forward a couple months, I start bringing Biddy into my meditations. I start like calling her into my meditation. And at first I just call her in for protection, for love, for wisdom, you know, and I do it every day for a couple of months. And that's when the telepathy started really happening between us. And that's when we started really talking. After I called her in for a while. So the reason why I'm telling you all this, the reason why I think all this is important is that telepathy is a practice. Anyone can commune in the spiritual realm. This isn't unique. This is something that we're supposed to be doing. This is our lineage. This is part of who we are. The collective consciousness of the heart is meant for telepathic communication. I believe that with every fiber of my being. Not that I have some special gift. No, it's that I have been in the practice of this work for quite some time. And I had that activation with my friend Biddy and refusing to let this girl go, wanting to stay so connected to her. That desire was also part of this telepathic communication. So in this telepathy, I kept asking Biddy around the healing of my back because, as I told you, before my back spasm, my back was a problem. You know, like it wasn't feeling great. And I kept asking her about this healing. And right before the back spasm happened, there was a lot of apex things happening around relationships. So I was having other relationship problems with very good friends. And I have major trauma around really close female friendships. A lot of it is because of this loss of Biddy and me always wanting to like fill that void and me wanting a best friend to fill this loss of a best friend. And so I was having all of these issues with someone who I thought was my best friend. And as Biddy and I are communicating about this telepathically, I'm like really tripping out over this relationship. I'm kind of like losing it. And then on Biddy's death day, which is on June 11th, I go and I visit her in her grave, and her mother is right next to her. And I'm sitting there and I'm vibing with Biddy. I'm having a great time with Biddy. Like, we're listening to her playlist. I have a playlist and like of all the songs that she loved. And we're having a good time. Like, we're listening to Scatman. I'm a Scatman. We're listening to I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Having a really good time. Full moon, okay? Full moon, her death day. Hanging out, vibing. Then I get up to go and I realize, oh, Biddy had actively asked me to forgive her mom. And like, I've kind of been ignoring that because Biddy's mom is truly right next to her grave. And I put the earbuds in my ears, and I like change the music. I take it out of Biddy's playlist and I put it on my Dave Matthews playlist. Do not judge. And usually on my Dave Matthews playlist, it only plays Dave Matthews, like exclusively Dave Matthews, how I like it. But the second I put on the playlist and I put my hands on Biddy's mother's grave, it started playing this Zach Bryan song. And I know he's not some great guy. I think he beats his women, but it's a song about being an alcoholic. And the second I put my hands on the grave and I hear this song, I start fucking weeping. I was just vibing to Scatman, like truly 45 seconds before, and now I'm hysterically crying listening to this song about being an alcoholic and feeling the shame, the guilt, the regret of Biddy's mom. And I was just telling her, I'm like, I feel it too. I feel the shame. I feel this guilt. I feel this regret. And I was just sending her so much love and so much understanding. And I felt like in that moment, I really did feel her, see her, forgive her, acknowledge her, because she's been alone in her grave. Her daughter lives in California, doesn't get to come anymore. Her son is like not doing well. Like, she doesn't have anyone to like, she has her 2 children, but like to physically be there with her in that way. And also I'm more objective than her children, like I could just hold her grief and feel her pain with her and tell her she's not alone, And then I went back to Biddy after that because now I'm like kind of hysterical, and I put my head on Biddy's gravestone and the music just shuts the fuck off. And my phone didn't die. I still had service. The music just shut the fuck off. And Biddy's telling me, she's like, you have to let go of this guilt. You have to let go of this blame. You have to let the fuck go. And I realized that a lot of it was manifesting in my lower back. Like, so much of our suffering is manifesting in our bodies. We know this. And so I just like had my head on her, my third eye, just like on her, just like listening to her message, like her telling me that I did the best I could. She's not blaming me. It's so interesting how much we blame ourselves and how hard we are on ourselves and how much regret we have in life. And life is not about regretting your life. It's about learning, taking whatever you regret and learning and applying it and changing and evolving. It's not about dwelling. We're not supposed to just sit there and dwell and torture ourselves. That's not it. That's not what life is supposed to be. So then I was still in this vortex of this friendship drama, feeling really rejected, feeling really abandoned, feeling really sad. And I couldn't let go. I couldn't let go of these feelings. I couldn't let go of these thoughts. I wasn't talking to the friend either. 111 affirmation. I was just like feeling all of these feelings. And then my back went out. Doing a it was not like I was like doing some backflip, you know. I actually just like changed my morning routine and was trying new things for my back. But I do think that changing the morning routine shifted things for me. And then I taught I taught like for 3.5 hours, like with an active back spasm. Bad idea. So did I push it too far? Yes, but I kept thinking I was gonna like shake it out or move it out, and I did not. In fact, I did the opposite. I made it worse. So then I'm in a back spasm. I can't fucking sit up, my dude. I can't sit up. All I could do was lay the fuck down. Like standing was so difficult. Like not being able to sit up, psycho. So fucked up, you know? And I am in unbelievable pain. I don't know if you ever had a back spasm. They are horrendosity. So now I am fucked. And now I'm in a fucking vortex. So I'm seeing the acupuncturist. I'm doing the meditations. I'm doing prayers. I'm doing all of these things. And basically, Biddy tells me, she's like, you've been trying to like fill this hole that's in your heart, this bitty shaped hole. But like, and like you're trying to have a best friend fill this hole, but you can't fill the hole, dude. First of all, no one is shaped like me. Second of all, I'm here. I'm in your heart, remember, bitch? Like, I'm like, oh my fucking God, she's right. Like, I felt this void because I lost her. And then I've been trying to like fill the void with other people. And she's like, A, you're never going to be able to accomplish that. And B, I'm already here in your heart. And it's like, it is a reminder that not everything we experience in life is in the physical realm. My relationship with Biddy is purely metaphysical at this point. I do not get to physically hold her, hang with her, be with her in any way in this 3D dimension, but I am with her in the 5D, not 5G. Hello. But I am with her, you know? And it's like, we have to, if you want to be a spiritual being, you have to have metaphysical relationships, either with source, either with the dead, either with animals, either with plants, either with rocks, either with moss, either with water. You have to have metaphysical connections. If you're just in this 3D physical world and that's the only thing that you're connecting to, that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to just be in the physical realm. We're also here to explore the metaphysical. And that is a practice of faith, of humility, and of dedication. You know, because it takes time to understand the difference between the physical and the metaphysical, because in the beginning, you do not trust it. You're like, oh, I'm going crazy, or I'm just talking to myself. There's so much doubt you have when you start exploring the metaphysical, because we are meant from our socialized program to distrust our intuition. We are programmed to distrust it. And if you do have a metaphysical relationship with source, there's always this intermediary. You need a priest, you need a rabbi, you need these people to be in between you and your relationship to source. No, why do you need that? You do not. You absolutely do not. But we rely, it's like the reason why religion is such an effective tool of social control and social manipulation is because it's like helping us feed the spiritual yearning we all have, but it contextualizes it in the physical world by being through the priest or being through the voice of a man, the patriarchal voice of a man who's like legitimizing your relationship to godliness or source, right? And so then you're like, oh, well, I don't have to trust my own intuition. I can trust this man who's telling me that I am connected to source. Like, no, your connection to source is beyond you and another person. You do not need an intermediary. But that is why religion is such a successful tool of manipulation, because we do have a deep metaphysical yearning, and you are not going to trust it in the beginning. You're gonna doubt it. You're gonna be confused. So I'm hearing Biddy and I'm like, okay. So I go to talk to my friend about our relationship, the one who is like the acute mental torture that I was going through. I'm thinking about this relationship a lot. I'm going through it a lot. I mean, there's multi-dimensional aspects to it. My daughter was also involved in it. Because our girls were friends, like there was a lot going on. And again, my daughter is like, she's in her teens, like it's a childhood friend. Like I hold childhood friends as so sacred. I hold female friendships as so fucking sacred because for me personally, my friends were my family. Like I felt so alienated from my family. I felt so on the outside, not a priority within my family structure, that I really relied on friends on this deep level. So everything was a lot louder for me. So I had this conversation. I open up to my friend. I tell her what I'm feeling. Abandoned, used, discarded, all of these things. And she's like, I feel the exact same way. And I was confused. You know, I'm like, what? Like, that's confusing to me. Because, like, why didn't you say anything? And, like, why didn't I say anything? Because this has been going on for, like, a while. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is actually happening? And I kept saying, like, you know, she was referencing a lot of the physical things that would have deterred our friendship, like moving, a new relationship, a new job, all these things. And I kept saying, like, no, none of these things should have impacted the relationship. Nothing in the physical world should have impacted the relationship. Like, I have so many relationships that people have moved, they've gotten boyfriends, they've had kids, like all of these things, they don't impact my relationship to them. I was like, no, something changed. Emotionally, something changed. Like something changed in the metaphysical realm. It wasn't anything in the physical. So we were having this conversation. We were almost speaking two different languages because I was talking about energy and she was talking about logistics. And I kept rejecting that logistics were the issue. And I kept saying, like, she was like, you were pushing me away. And she was correct. I was pushing her away, but it's because I felt pushed away. And I was saying, yes, I'm acknowledging I was pushing you away, but I felt pushed away first. And she was like, no, I'm not taking responsibility for this. I'm not taking the blame for this. Like, a relationship is two people, and I agree with her, but I kind of kept holding on to this idea, but like I felt pushed away first, and I was so devastated by being pushed away that my response was to push. And I was like, well, why didn't I say anything? You know, I was confused by myself too. And this is when I realized, and I was like, well, when did you start feeling this way? And she said she started feeling the way in the summer. And I started feeling this way in the fall. And so I wasn't going to rub her nose in it and be like, well, you felt it first, so you did start it, you know? Instead, I just kind of thought about it. And I was like, oh, so she did start feeling it first. And then she did start acting. And then I started picking up what she was throwing down. And I started acting the way I was feeling. And this is what I've come to realize. And this is a very long way of explaining something to y'all, but I think it's needed all this time. I don't think I was ever feeling my own feelings. I think what happened is that I was feeling her feelings the whole fucking time. And this is what I've come to realize about relationships is that there's this woman, Teal Swan. She's a little bit of a controversial figure. I haven't really researched the controversy, but she said something that really changed me. And I don't know if it came from her, if it was like something that, I don't know the lineage of this statement, but I heard it from her. Teal Swan said that when children have a tantrum, so when your child's having a tantrum and you feel some kind of way when your child is having a tantrum, they're showing you how they feel by having this tantrum or by acting out in the way they're feeling. So whatever you feel around your child that is an unpleasant feeling is them trying to communicate to you telepathically, basically, or through their emotional lens, which is what that's the only thing they have to communicate, really, because they don't have like the same cognition. They're trying to show you how they feel so you can then help them learn to articulate and process their feelings. And that was something I always understood with kids. I did understand that with kids. Even before Teal Swan told me, I did get that. Like, I do think as a parent, I have had an uncanny amount of like patience when it came to dealing with my child, her emotions, and helping her learn to process her emotions. But this is true for all adults too. So when you're feeling like an intense feeling around an adult, like when you're having major conflict with another adult, it's really important to take a step back and be like, wait, are these my feelings? Or is this person showing me how they feel through their actions? And then I am just picking up what they're throwing down. And I realized that, I talked to my friend and like her telling me because I was feeling really heartbreak over the friendship. And I kept, as a logical person, I was like, this doesn't really make sense why I'm this upset. I never really understood my feelings about the relationship either. But when I understood them through like, oh, wait a second, like she was feeling these feelings, she was showing me how rejected she felt. And then I was just projecting her projection back onto her. So we were in like this vortex of projection. And I think this is where me as like a spongy person, I have to be very fucking careful because I almost wonder, I'm like, do I have any of my own authentic feelings, or am I always just in a state of reaction? Because I don't have a lot of feelings, except I have the feeling of depression and despair. Like that is mine. I hold that. But other than that, I'm like, what are my feelings? I feel like my feelings are like utter despair and like neutrality. And maybe I feel joy with music or something. I think I feel joy. But I think the reason why I attract very volatile people into my orbit is because, and I've felt this before. I actually, this isn't a new realization for me, but it's through my dynamics with others that I feel the kaleidoscope of feelings. Like, am I an android? Or am I just an incredible, this is the other thing that I was wondering about myself. Either I am like in a Blade Runner situation, or I'm just a very old soul, which I have been told before. Like, I'm not, and being an old soul isn't about hierarchy, okay? And I know there's like this like classic, like 50-year-old guy dating a 22-year-old, and it's like, oh, she's an old soul, and people make fun of that. However, I actually agree that there are people, souls that have been around longer, and there's souls that are younger. And I think that I've been spending a lot of time getting really caught up in new soul energy. Like, the reason why I know I'm an old soul is that my spirit animal is a brontosaurus or a dragon, depending if you believe in dinosaurs. I mean, like, are dinosaurs just dragons? Kinda. But I've known that about myself for a long time. I have a brontosaurus as a spirit animal. I've been told I'm an old soul. And I also do feel I am giving really old soul vibes. Like, I am a brontosaurus. Like, if you look at my body, and I also, the way, like, my body takes a while to, like, rev up. Like, I'm not just, like, bouncing out of bed. Like, I move with old soul energy. And it's like, why am I getting so caught up in new soul energy? Like, it's almost like getting mad at a kid for having a tantrum. Like, you don't get mad at a new soul. And I think I think this is like how I need to start, and a lot of us need to start like viewing, and this is not about hierarchy, right? It's like a strawberry seed and a strawberry are still amazing. But a seed is not a strawberry because a seed needs time to mature. And then once the seed matures, it becomes a strawberry. And I think that I've always felt this, like, I have an emotional maturity that a lot of people in my orbit don't have. And sometimes people are like, oh, that's because you're repressed, or that's because you like hold in your emotions, or you're unhealthy. Like, sometimes I get that feedback, and I'm not completely rejecting that feedback, But I do think I have like an emotional maturity because I've just been through more lifetimes. Like, this is what I'm wondering. If you feel that you're often having to be more mature in relationships, like sometimes you're in a parent child relationship, right? Like, you're the child. My mother is a younger soul than me. She just is. I've always known this. And so the dynamic between my mother and me, I've always felt like I'm more of the parent. And I know I'm not alone in that feeling. And I think a lot of y'all can relate to that. And it's just like, oh, you happen to be the older soul in the relationship. That's what's actually happening. And it doesn't mean you have to resent your parents for all the ways that they were immature. They were just a younger soul. And I kind of just feel like this perspective is helping me just let go of resentment and let go of anger and let go of blame. Because I'm like, well, maybe a lot of these relationships that I took so personally, like obviously I was taking this thing so personally with this friend, but she was just showing me how she felt through she already felt left. She felt abandoned first by my actions for whatever reasons. I did not feel like I was intentionally abandoning her, but something I did triggered her. And then we had been living in this like trauma trigger response because she didn't want to tell me about it, because maybe she felt embarrassed to tell me about it, or her ego didn't want to like admit that she felt sad, because my ego didn't want to admit that I felt sad, which is not like me. I often do admit that I feel sad or that someone's hurt me. And so I was like, really, I was in this like house of mirrors mirroring something which didn't feel mine. And the second we had the conversation, I was not plagued by this or haunted by this anymore, because I realized I don't think this was ever mine. And I think that is where I have to mature, right? It's not picking up what people are giving me. I don't have to pick it up. I can just reflect back to them like, oh, hey, I noticed this thing is happening. Like, I should have said something so much earlier rather than mirroring it for almost a year. Like, that feels like that's on me and that's my work. But I think why I keep going back to why hierarchy is so toxic, just because you've been an older soul doesn't mean you're better than anyone. You are not. You're just older. You know, like I'm not better than a kid just because I'm older. I'm just older than a kid. And I think when we think about like maturity, emotional immaturity, we have to not think of it in the sense of hierarchy. We have to think of it in the sense of like the immortal soul. And some of them are just older. And that's why you're more emotionally mature. You're not better than anyone. You're just fucking old in the soul. You just got an old soul, motherfucker. So, long story long, as I've said, is that I'm still not completely out of this back spasm. I'm still like processing things and integrating things. I mean, the spasm definitely has chilled, but like I am not myself. But I do think that it has brought me to a place of really questioning why I take other people so seriously, why I let other people like tear me down to the extent that I do. Because I do have some sort of boundaries around it, but then in other ways, when people are close to me, those people can fucking wreck me. Like, I had another friend who like wrote me an email about how she didn't want to be my friend anymore, and yeah, devastated, cried for weeks. Like, it was really hard. But you know, so okay, she don't want to be my friend anymore. There's like lots of people to be friends with. Like, you know, I didn't have to take that on so hard. But we do, you know, and that's what we have to ask ourselves. Was I taking on her feelings about me, or were those my feelings? This is my web to untangle. Who am I? Like, where do I end and you begin? You know, and yeah, I did talk about the collective and the collective heart, and we are in a collective web of entanglement, but we also were given individual bodies for a reason. You know, so it's like we are supposed to do the choreography and the dance between understanding what it is to like have your own experience and not be tangled up with others, while at the same time acknowledging our intensely intimate quantum entanglement. So that, I think, is the contradiction of existence, is both that we are one and we are all, you know, and negotiating and navigating that. It's like an electron blinks in and out of existence. We don't know where it goes when it blinks out, but it blinks back in. And I think it's kind of the same thing with the the oneness and the oneness of the collective and the oneness of the individual, right? It's blinking in and out of existence like an electron. Like all we are is an electron blinking in and out of existence, blinking between the oneness of all and the oneness of the individual. All right, well, that's my podcast for the day. I have a phone call. Submit your questions, please, to comeinsideofme.com. No, God, I say this fucking wrong every time. comeinsideofmepodcast@gmail.com. My website is comeinsideofme.com. Submit your questions, please, for Ask Me Anything Monday, and let me know if you like the podcast. Let me know if you want me to talk about something. Also, support my Patreon. Please support my Patreon. Some of you are doing that, which is dope AF. There's lots of different tiers of intimacy, of getting to know me and my offerings. There's somatic work, there's creative work, there's creative coaching, there's smoke sessions, there's going to be seasonal shake fest where we shake together. You can have individual time with me. There's a lot of offerings that I am offering. I am a really good friend. You can pay me to be your friend, LOL. But like, maybe we'll become actual friends through that payment. I'm sorry, we live in capitalism. I'm trying to change that, but I can't change that alone. But do support the Patreon because I am trying to, I'm trying to value myself. And right now we value ourselves with money. So, I mean, you know what I mean. I love you. Support me. Send me love. Send my back healing. Thank you for listening to the pod. All right.